Look around, Ted. You're all alone.
Here is where the How I Met Your Mother writers didn't hold back on reality. There's a scene that makes me feel so bad whenever I see it. I get all teary. Honestly, this is one of the most devastating episodes in the series. Yes, How I Met Your Mother isn't supernatural at all, but you see too many Barneys and too many Teds. And the premise becomes so boring that it makes you want to skip the episode. For some reason, I didn't, and I kept watching. As usual, Ted talks to his kids about how close he was to meeting their mother at that time. Then he literally goes to McLaren's, and there you see Barney come in with Robots vs. Wrestlers tickets. Before the analysis, Robots vs. Wrestlers, what a cool idea! We should put John Cena against iRobot, and I would pay to watch that. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked here. Again, Barney comes with the tickets. Robin, Lily, and Marshall come in with the usual funny stuff and roasting. Nothing to analyze yet. Barney asks Ted to close his eyes. And yeah, there's something we've never seen in any episode. A Barney from the future. For me, this was very weird. I was like, what? And that wasn't even a doppelganger, though Barney's doppelganger is so freaking cool. Gynecologist. What a dream. Damn my intrusive thoughts. Anyway, 20-year-old Barney comes in. Then our favorite opener plays. One of the greatest openers ever since Friends, in my opinion. Future Barney brings future Ted, which is pretty weird again. But Ted asks a question that anyone would ask their future self.
But most importantly, I don't go bald? Nope.
And neither do I.
Look at Ted's face. So happy. Yeah, I wish I could be that happy about my hair. Here's what I noticed. When the scene shows Marshall, Lily, and Robin, there's only one Ted and one Barney. When I first watched it, this was strange. I was like, why? If I had a YouTube channel at that time, I would have started making notes about the mistakes in How I Met Your Mother without even watching it fully. Also, this episode was so boring that I was trying to skip parts. My right arrow key was tired from all the times I clicked to skip 5 seconds. I think you felt the same, but it was very intentional to keep it that way because the writers wanted us to be bored by this. Nobody in show business takes this ideology. You see, it's all about entertainment, fun moments, and sad moments. But to keep your audience bored on purpose for an entire episode? That takes guts. They tried to make it less boring with Robin and Marshall's subplot about going into the ladies' room, but even that was boring compared to what we usually see on How I Met Your Mother. Like the episode itself, inside my head, two people started arguing. The good me and the evil me. The good me wanted to watch it entirely, and the bad me wanted to skip. So freaking boring, I kept saying to myself. But in the end, I became the good guy and kept watching. Thank God I did, because I was about to see one of the most emotional scenes that affects teenagers, adults, and old people alike. But before that devastating moment hits, let me explain why our brains do this weird thing. Here's what's actually happening in Ted's brain. There's this psychologist named Donald Horton who, back in the 1950s, was studying how people were getting weirdly attached to TV personalities. People were writing letters to news anchors as if they were personal friends, having full conversations about their day with talk show hosts through the screen. He and another researcher, Richard Wohl, came up with the term parasocial relationships. Basically, when your brain forms a one-sided emotional connection with someone who doesn't even know you exist. Originally, it was about celebrities and TV characters, but now we know it happens everywhere. Your brain literally can't tell the difference between real social interaction and fake social interaction when you're desperate enough for connection. So when Ted's sitting there, having elaborate conversations with imaginary Barney, his mind is doing exactly what Horton and Wohl discovered, creating fake relationships to fill the loneliness gap. It's like when you follow a YouTuber for years and start feeling like they're your actual friend, or when you have full conversations with people on Instagram in your head. Ted just took it to the extreme level. He created an entire friend group in his mind because the real ones weren't available. Then comes the crucial scene where Ted gets up to leave.
I think I'm gonna head home.
I understand. And how would I try and stop you?
Life is short, and if you ever come across a beautiful, exciting, crazy moment in it, you gotta seize it while you can before that moment's gone.
This moment already is gone. The whole Minnesota tidal wave thing happened 5 years ago. It's just a memory. Right now, Marshall and Lily are upstairs trying to get Marvin to go back to sleep. Robin and I are trying to decide on a caterer. And you've been sitting here all night staring at a single ticket to Robots vs. Wrestlers because the rest of us couldn't come out. Look around, Ted. You're all alone.
The most realistic scene that every other show ignores finally unfolds. Do you see what just happened? 20 minutes of elaborate time travel fantasy just died in 4 words. All those friends giving advice, the debates about wrestling, the coat check girl drama, none of it was real. Ted has been sitting there by himself this whole time, talking to nobody, making up this whole elaborate scenario because he can't deal with being alone. And it's not even dramatic. Josh Radnor just has this look on his face like, you know when you catch yourself doing something pathetic and you can't pretend anymore? That's it. That's the look. Loneliness. I think you've all experienced it. Unlike in the show, where people have jobs and are still connected to their loved ones, which is rare in real life. When you had your best people in high school, college, or your neighborhood, you sometimes forgot to enjoy time with them. You ignored them sometimes for a TV show or a video game. But when you sit like Ted and let your mind's voice speak to you, that's when you realize you're all alone. No cool robots versus wrestlers, no going to visit places, no partying with them. It's all gone, and now they're just memories that you want to relive. But nobody is around you anymore because they're busy. You might also have a busy life, but sometimes when you're free, you don't have anybody. So the writers gave you one of the most iconic quotes you can use to cherish the moment while you have it, because one day when you are alone, you'll smile at those memories by looking back at what you did together. Then he rushes to see Tracy, asking about those 45 days he keeps mentioning. The showrunners had already decided she would die early, making his life real rather than a fairy tale. This episode gives us 2 things to keep in mind: the quote we heard earlier and the fact that people have an expiration date. Every loved one you know, like Ted, saying 45 days. But for us, even 1 minute with them after they leave will be precious. But here's where it gets really messed up. When this episode first aired, people thought it was just about Ted being fed up with being single, like he's tired of not having someone to share things with. Then, the finale happened. We found out Tracy, the mother, had been dead for 6 years when Ted's telling this story. 6 years. So now, when you watch this scene, it's not Ted upset because he hasn't met his wife yet. It's Ted dealing with grief because his wife is dead, and he wants those extra 45 days with her now that she's gone. I want each one of them becomes about the time he lost, not the time he's going to get. That completely changes everything, doesn't it? This whole episode might just be grieving Ted, remembering some random lonely night and thinking, what if I had met her sooner? This scene destroys you because we've all been Ted. Maybe not literally talking to imaginary Barneys, but how many times have you scrolled through Instagram, seeing everyone else hanging out, and made up some story about why you're too busy anyway? How many group chats have you been in where nobody responds? How many times have you bought 2 tickets to something, absolutely sure someone would want to come, and then ended up staring at them alone? The episode doesn't try to fix it or give you some stupid inspirational message. It just shows you this guy who got so good at lying to himself that he spent a whole night having conversations with people who weren't there. So here's what this scene really does. It makes you ask yourself, how many elaborate stories am I creating right now to avoid admitting I'm lonely? Because that's the scary part. Not that Ted was alone that night. It's how good he got at pretending he wasn't. Maybe that's why no other sitcom does this. It's too real. We watch these shows to feel better about our lives, not to question whether our friendships are actually real or just convenient. The next time you're scrolling alone through your phone, making up conversations in your head with people who aren't texting back, just remember, you might be one elaborate fantasy away from becoming Ted Mosby. And maybe that's not pathetic. Maybe that's just human.